So let's get into some of this meat and potatoes we talked about in the opener. Live from the news desk. Right. So we got a little chip problem. And we ain't talking chips and salsa. And we got a podcast recently about this thing.
Yeah, you know.
I hate to say I told you so.
So, yeah, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, by the way, Jay, how's your recording doing? Doing all right?
It's doing great.
All right.
It's doing good now, yeah.
So, we had a little technical difficulty in the studio, but we're past that, I think. So,
for
those of you that don't know, yeah? You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
You need a life preserver, just let me know. Send up a signal.
Oh, by the way, this shirt, I got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law and father-in-law, thanking them for this shirt, which, by the way, guys, if you're interested in it, you can buy this on Amazon. You can go right to our website, partscounterguru.com, and click on the Amazon banner up top, or we'll put a link on mention on the podcast for this shirt.
Yeah, that's
pretty cool. It says car guy. It's a noun, like a regular guy, only cooler. Yeah, that's me, man. No, but they just, as a show of appreciation to me, they wanted to.
Yeah, you got to be careful where you wear that, though. You get people coming up to you asking if you'll
right.
help
It's
them,
like a bullseye, man. Yeah.
Change your brake pads out or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, back to this chip thing. Right. we discussed this podcast.
I hate to say I told you so.
Sorry, it never gets old, man.
Jeeps and Chip Odyssey, I think it was. Yep. You can go to partscounterguru.com and find that audio podcast.
There's a podcast tab near the top. Click on that. Wherever fine podcasts are given away for free, you will find ours. There's links to all the major platforms, whether it's Apple and Google, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever. We're on all of them.
Just subscribe.
Yeah, that one was, I think, called Jeeps and Chips or something like that. But
Jeeps and Chips Odyssey, yeah.
So this is affecting the Camaro, right? The Chevy Camaro.
It is, man. GM has confirmed that its Lansing Grand River assembly plant will be idled beginning first of the month or end of the month through the month of April, if not longer. And the reason is because they don't have enough semiconductor chips to produce the fast-moving vehicles, the better-selling vehicles, so they've got to cut bait somewhere. And the Camaro has not been the hottest-selling model for GM over the last couple of years like they had anticipated it would be.
Yeah.
So you got to cut bait somewhere.
I think it all has to do with profit margins. And so you slow down production on the vehicles that do not have, aren't bringing in, who's bringing in the most money? Well, we're not going to stop that one.
Right. It's using its existing semiconductor chip supply for highly profitable vehicles, like Keith just said.
I hate to say I told you so.
I swear to God, I didn't read that before.
And it's for extremely popular vehicles, mainly trucks and the SUVs. But they not only cut the Camaro, but they cut the Malibu, the Cadillac CT4 and CT5, which is coming up for 2022.
Yeah,
which that
are they
kind
still
of
making
makes
the Malibu, really?
Yeah, they are, and that totally makes sense to me. I mean, especially with the CT4, CT5. Which, by the way, man, honestly, if I'm going to drop that kind of money on a performance vehicle, it's not going to be a Cadillac, man. I get it. It's basically, Camaro on steroids, Corvette, but they are fast, man.
You know who would take issue with you? And I'm going to tell you that GM has done a very good job
I know they have.
Generational perspective of marketing to these younger people. Yeah. Sideshot loves Cadillacs. Loves them.
Well, they do a lot of good things with those things, but they're very expensive. They're very expensive. But it's they're not really. It's not a badge of sport. In other words, it's not a Camaro.
He'll throw
not a
all
Corvette.
the data at you. He'll go.
Oh, I know. He's
it's
not
high resale value. It's you should. And he does this to me all the time. He'll go, Dad, you should really give them another look. Like, here's what we have become, Jay. We have become like our dads, that it's like you get married to that brand loyalty and you're like, that stuff's crap. I mean, you changed my mind about Hyundai. I initially was kind of like, kind of poo-pooed Hyundai. But see, my experience to them was in their early days here in the United States.
And there's still people out there that have that, sense that they still think that they are junk.
Apple's
the
same.
Not.
Like, Apple just keeps selling iPhones because people recognize Apple from the reputation it had in the Steve Jobs era. And they have been plagued with a lot more quality issues since then than they used to.
So in other words, Apple's now Kia?
I don't know. I mean, my point is that whole brand loyalty, which we've covered many times, can be a dangerous thing, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
We need
Absolutely.
to get in a Cadillac and go just,
You know what? Let's do this. Let's commit to having a segment on the Cadillac overall. Because they
Cadillac's making clothing? Oh, you mean, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, well, if they do, I'll take a pair. But anyway, I mean, they're dabbling into electrification, obviously being a GM family member.
Right.
They're dabbling into the sports car side of it, which they have been for a while. I mean, dude, when that wagon they did that has the 6-liter, I mean, it just blows my mind how fast they are and they sound just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tuned very well, and I know it's a very well built machine, but I just when I think of Cadillac, I just don't think of sports car. But they do make some really, really viable options for people who want to have luxury and sport at the same time. It's kind of, that's where they're at. They're in that category of not exotic, but kind of inching up.
They have to survive. If they're, the old reputation of being an old man's luxury car, I mean, that's not going to do. The same thing happened to Jaguar. It was kind of like, wood paneling everywhere and, and the gentleman's steed and all that. And I would buy one now. Like, they're not, that's not who they are today at all. So, this is, and we'll get into this more a little bit later on the program, but we're on very, very thin ice right now in terms of our nation's economic stability. And I've said this many times for those of you that are fans of the show and that are subscribers. First of all, thank you. But you know what I'm about to say. As the automotive industry goes historically here in the United States, as their economy goes, so does the nation's economy. So if the automotive industry is not doing well, we tend to have economic hardship elsewhere in the country. They use car sales as a predictor.
Absolutely.
If you can't make the cars, you can't sell the cars, right? So
That's right.
This is we're teetering here. This is dangerous. Ironically, it's not because people don't want to buy them. I mean, you can't get a Corvette right now, but they can't make them, right?
Toyota, in the meantime, Keith, they're one of the automakers that has a surplus of semiconductors sitting around, and they learned from their devastating tsunami that took the nuclear plant out. Their infrastructure was completely, and their supply chain was completely devastated. So they learned a lot. So they were not going to let their themselves be caught with their pants down, if you will. And Toyota's actually posted, proud earnings. Things are looking good for Toyota so far. Their production has not slowed. They're moving right along. But one thing that concerns me about this, and I hate, for you people that are Camaro lovers.
By the way, this segment brought to you by Toyota. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But, if you're a Camaro lover, you might be a little concerned here because, as with anything, when you start having issues, something has to go away. And Camaro sales have been down. We know the direction that GM is headed into the electrification of all their vehicles. By 2035, they've committed to that. Now, that remains to be seen as to whether or not that'll come through, but they are certainly committed to that. And, could it be that, maybe there'll be a redesign of this Camaro and it comes out as an EV? It's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Ford just did it with the Mustang. So just keep that, in the back of your mind. And we're also talking, I mean, there's news from GM that, will it happen? Don't know, but it's also possible that you might see the Corvette Stingray become an SUV and an electric vehicle as well. So, there's a lot going into this. It could be an opportunity for GM to go ahead and start cutting that bait to get closer and closer to that commitment to all electric vehicles, like I said.
And I know it's a sports car. Car sales in general, sedans. Now, the Camaro's a two-door, but they have not sold as well as crossovers, SUVs, trucks in the past, 3 or 4 years. A lot of car manufacturers, GM is no exception, have announced, hey, we're reducing our lineup in terms of passenger cars. That's sort of why, I joked, are they still making the Malibu? But I was kind of serious. Like I didn't realize they still had that car in their lineup. So, we'll, again, it's just kind of interesting, but makes me a little nervous here just because this could cause problems on it could ripple through the economy. So
it will. It definitely will. We'll see what happens, and like he said, we'll get into a little bit more that will kind of hint to some issues that may be going on.